Continuing here, going on to more of the current events, but that was enough talking about how you can get ahead of the curve and understand, what you got to look forward to. Because here in California, people, at least economically, are ahead of the curve. The tenants are. They realize what a load of bull that's been, shoved down their throats, and they're tired of it. So I already talked a little about a good American being a bit, invariably, a bit wild. But we appreciate our rights, and we know that there's people that would usurp them. And we got to stand up against those frauds, those liars, those authoritarians, those hypocrites, those deceivers. That could be those, wannabe deceivers, whatever, whatever it is. But sometimes that person can't be that stupid. So if they're not that stupid, then you go, wow, are they really lying in a very tricky way, which that's all deceit is. It's just a tricky lie, right? And, so that's really repulsive when I think that the media does that crap by, syndication and all this. Ugh, these people make me want to vomit. A vomitable bunch. Max Kaiser, he's kind of down on Trump, and I don't understand it because I remember when Alex Jones had him on the show when Max was in Moscow. He and Stacy were in Moscow, and Max was endorsing Trump. He thought, well, yeah, but I guess he doesn't like some of the stuff he's doing. But I don't know. I don't think he's giving him enough slack. Maybe it's because he's getting pressure from his boss or other constituents in his reporting journalistic affairs. I don't know, what it is. But I think Max is an egalitarian. I think he's a righteous dude, and I don't know, that he's liberal or conservative economically, but he's different. I mean, this whole Bitcoin thing, I really don't know what to say about that. I never liked it. I never got involved in it, but apparently some people have made fortunes, kind of like gold. I mean, if you invested in gold at just the right time, within 10 years, you would have, your investment would have gone up well over 1,000%. So that's the truth. That's the reality, and that's pretty good because some people bought Bitcoin at, I think, pennies on the dollar. So now Bitcoin is what, $1,200 or something. I don't know, but the chance of it collapsing, he says they don't exist, but I don't know. I just don't know enough about it, and I stay out of it. But to me, it's just another false god in sheep's clothing type thing. Okay, that's all. It comes off. Money is money in any other name. Okay, it's all the same thing. It's all the same principle, precept, idea, notion, and it's this concentration of power in whatever this thing is that's coveted. The ambrosia, God, Satan's ambrosia, right? The ambrosia of the demons of this world, this temporal scene. I mean, we all know it's temporary. That's what I don't understand is that it seems like we ought to have enough sense as human beings, by far and away the most intelligent creature on earth, to know when we're being duped, to understand that we're just passing through. This is, for all intents and purposes, it's just like one big long dream. And then when you go to sleep at night, that's another phase of dreaming. But really, that is the commonality the two have, is that they're temporary. When you go to bed at night and have a dream, or when you're living your life, either way that this scene is temporary. Okay, now not to get into the whole eternal life and resurrection of the dead and these imperishable bodies that we're due to be given if you're found righteous and deserving and worthy to get those things. Aside from that, we know that it's temporary. Okay, so because you can't play that card anyhow, you can't be evil and say, oh, well, I'm going to be resurrected anyhow, and no, God's got to know you. You've got to know God, and in order for God to know you, you've got to know God. Okay, it's about learning about Him, and emulating, imitating, and striving to be more like God, godlike every day. That's growth. That's being on the right path. It happens naturally, and it leads to all good things of freedom and safety and security that you're promised you will receive. He can't lie. There's one thing about God, it's written, He cannot lie. So these promises, you have good basis to have that little bit of faith, as He said. That's all you need, a mustard seed of faith, as He described it. Jesus described it. Okay, to believe that God is good and He's all powerful and He wants good for you, not just for now, but forever. And that goes for every person on the face of the earth. Okay, and those that have been horrible sinners, He loves, He's trying even more, as it's written, because all heaven rejoices more over 99, more over one sinner that repents than 99 righteous people that don't need to. And that those that have been forgiven much, just like a debt that's been forgiven somebody, they will love God the most. You understand? So, I mean, it's almost like He's given us incentive there to go out and be a sinner. That's not the case. But He does want us to know that He paid the price for our sins and that we are forgiven by His blood. And there's no one else to look for in the future, okay? This is the one that paid the ultimate price and was found worthy to rule over the affairs of men. He's got all authority over the earth and the earthlings. And this is what is to come. This is what we need to prepare ourselves for, ready ourselves for, is a day when Jesus Christ is literally ruling over the affairs of men. Okay? And that's going to be dramatically different. We all just have to be honest and say, yes, I get that. I'm smart enough to understand that. I've got 2 brain cells to rub together and understand that it wouldn't be hard. I mean, if He just says no to unnecessary human suffering and no to all these jobs that revolve around the problems, the unnecessary human suffering, these jobs that aren't going to exist, aren't going to need to exist, okay, I get it. I'm all for it. Let's all do useful things. Let's serve each other of our own free will and accord, how we want to, when we want to, where we want to. And that's that. That I'm not your conscience, you're not mine. That's it. You're free. And it doesn't mean there's not some hierarchy. Look, I'm not a good leader. I just as soon leave it to somebody else. Fine. But if they force me to be, fine. But I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm sure as hell not going to be some harsh taskmaster. Okay, I'm not going to be mean. I'm not going to be draconian. I'm not going to be oppressive. I'm not going to be a tyrant. I'm going to try to be the best boss you ever had, because it's only a suggestion that, if I'm teaching somebody something, and that's what a lot of this comes down to, this hierarchy, is somebody knows something, they know more about something than somebody else. So that's what it is. It's passing on, it's passing on this understanding, and this is the basis for it. This is the grounds. This is why you should trust this teaching, this belief. So, yeah, I understand a hierarchy, and like there's angels, there's big angels, there's little angels, powerful angels, and not so powerful angels. There's other beings in the universe. So there is a hierarchy, and it's written that human beings were created just a little lower than the angels. So there is some hierarchy, and human beings can have some of that, but it doesn't mean that our masters, our bosses, our teachers need to be a-holes. And that's what I'm talking about. They're going to be godly people that are going to be kind and compassionate and loving. And it's going to be easy. There's not going to be any drudgery to serving one another someday. That's what's coming. This is a beautiful thing, man. Could you imagine having bodies that can't die, imperishable, but just having all your senses too? Because we want our senses. We can have all that. We can have our cake and eat it too, according to God. That's what's due to us. And that's something to live for. That's something to trust in. That's a promise that God made, and He can't lie. That we should really seize in our own lives and say, this is what I want. I want to be free from this crap hole. And you're my way out, God, just by being your friend and by being a friend to humanity. Even people I don't like. Even people that want to spit in my face and hate me without cause. And even if they kill me, I can't shrink away from it. I can't be cowardly. I've got to go down standing upright as a good human, good American, good brother, good sister, whatever the case may be. Though there haven't been too many female assassinations in history, but I'm sure there's cases of it now and then. And King Solomon made a snide statement about women. He said that out of 1,000 men, there's one righteous, but there's not one woman. Which is, you got to take it with a grain of salt and say, well, wait a minute, then what's he saying there? Maybe out of 1,001, there's one righteous woman. Because look at Joan of Arc. I mean, she was pretty much a righteous chick, right? And there's been great women all through history. We know that. But look at Rosa Parks, what she accomplished. That was a beautiful thing and very enlightening to the American people and to people around the world that witnessed what she did. So there's always been great women, just to name a couple. But, and Joan of Arc, I mean, she was a warrioress, I guess you would call her. But she was leading what was it the French army? My history is not that great, but I've read up on her before. It's just retaining it is another thing. But get the overall gist that she was kind of fighting against the bad guys at that time, the Burgundians or some damn thing. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyhow, I think she was a good chick, right? But yeah, so. We're in it deep now, and there's only one way out, and it is God's way. And this is a great time to be alive. It's very intense, very difficult. Sometimes I feel like some of these chemtrails are spraying on us or screwing with us. Maybe they're chemically lobotomizing us. But, I've been pretty stressed out, and I've been feeling, a need to escape from, just the worldly mire, this demonization, villainization of Donald Trump. It sickens me to my core. I mean, come on, for crying out loud. People have to come out of ignorance and come out of confusion and understand that true capitalism is a beautiful thing for the people, not for some of the people, but for all of the people, for we the people. It's supply and demand. It means we can have an abundance. We won't even care about money. That's what true capitalism would bring. Where, yes, you've got that sense of safety and security and that sense of ownership and prosperity, all these good things, the freedom that comes with it, the contentment that comes with it. Please, if I could make one appeal to Trump haters, please stop hating the man. Give him a chance, okay? He's only human. He didn't have to do this. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the guy said, you know what? This whole Russia, the witch hunt thing, made up, utterly made up. I mean, I would, if I was Donald Trump, you know what I'd say if Trump was listening? I'd say, Trump, inform the public. Next time you get before the media, start talking terms. Get their wheels turning. Inspire, provoke some thought in people. Bring up Saul Alinsky so that people start looking up that term, Saul Alinsky. Who was this? So that they understand the method that these people are using. They claim to be Democrats. They claim to be liberals. They claim to be socialists. And so they have to hate you. Okay, by default, they've got to hate you and demonize you and villainize you. Of course they do. And just hold their breath until you're out of office some way, one way or another. Okay, then explain to them what's going on here, how the same things they're guilty of, they're accusing you of. All this hacking of the election, this was the stuff Hillary was into. She stole the election from Bernie Sanders. Everybody knows. Hell, they reported it before we even had a vote here in California that she had won, so don't bother voting, okay? That's theft, okay? That's tricky, that's deceitful means of theft. That's what she did. And then she was going to steal it from Trump out all the immigrants, thinking that, oh, Hillary's on the side of me because I'm an illegal immigrant. When Hillary Clinton and her husband, I mean, they're the biggest quislings in all of American history. What she did getting us into what happened in Libya and all this crap, all these talk about dubious wars getting involved in, Hillary Clinton, man. This is why Alex Jones said she did this to children. A lot of children died. We got Madeleine Albright saying she thinks the price was worth it. And now everybody in America, unless you admit that the Iraqi war was wrong, then you're a traitor. Do you understand? And we got 20-something troops a day, veterans, taking their own lives. I mean, how is this in any way, shape, or form? In any fashion? Okay, with anybody. Good God, what is wrong with us? So Hillary definitely tried to steal the election. And all this collusion with China that Hillary did and her husband and then the Latin America trying to convince people in the Middle East with the refugees and all this crap. I mean, these people are hiding behind ISIS. ISIS is their front men. This is very emblematic, very indicative of how these people are. They're bloodthirsty, brutal, ruthless monsters. That's who they are. So all these anti-Trumpers, just remember what you're saying. By default, you're saying you would have rather had Hillary Clinton in office. Okay, you make me want to vomit. Okay, all of you. I can't stand all of you anti-Trumpers. You make me want to puke. Okay, just remember, man, who you're saying. You would rather, by default, that's it. Because even if you believe it's a lesser of two evils with Hillary, okay, you're still admitting that you think she would have been better. And so this whole idea that Trump is an illegitimate president, or that he's obstructing justice in the investigation, he's saying, yeah, I'm obstructing a witch hunt because it's all propaganda. It's Saul Alinsky propaganda. Look up the term. Look up Donald Trump. Educate the public. Tell them to look up the term Overton window. Educate them about the roots of the Federal Reserve. What David Knight educates them on, how in the last 100 years, over 90% of the worth of the currency